What is up, gamers, friends, listeners, whoever you are? Welcome back to the download queue. Big ol' 48. We are 2 away from 50, which will be capping off right at the end of the year. Things line up really well when we take time off sometimes. We've had an absolute wild week. This week has been crazy, full of excitement, full of tears on the
Did I miss something?
It's
What?
just the Game Awards. Just Game Awards. Just a couple announcements.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Just some just little things. That voice, the sweet Kyle the Fish on the West Coast, holding it down for us. How are you doing, friend?
Doing good, and Sunday. So
Sunday. I'm losing football today. I'm not good. I just checked the score before we started. Not the best.
oh yeah, they weren't doing too hot. Buffalo every now and then has those games. They come back, they're really good, and then they just kind of can't get over the hump though. Get deep into the playoffs or even push for a Super Bowl. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about Detroit.
No, we're fine.
Maybe it's not a great sign for the playoffs, but I think they're still fine if they lose that game.
Fingers crossed. As mentioned, we got Game Awards this week. It's been wild. Awards are in. Awards are handed out. Nominees are gone. Announcements are made. Which we'll get into that a little later. We've been holding some other stuff off. We got to do some housekeeping, do some roundup on. I want to start with some Dragon Age Veilguard. I finished it a few weeks before you. Gave kinda top level review stuff. But I want to kick off our full review for Dragon Age Veilguard now that you've also rolled credits. We haven't had time to fit this in.
Yeah, it's taken me a while. And last week we did a fun episode going over the whole year for each platform. So I finished it before last week, but it kind of worked out to do it right here and now. So yeah, I want to hear from you first about your full overall thoughts at a Dragon Age here, because I know you've played Dragon Age before. Of course, I have not. I touched Inquisition weeks before Veilguard and said, okay, I'll wait for Veilguard. And so this is my first Dragon Age game, but I know you've touched the series before, so.
Yeah, very top level. Well, not even top level, but like I've rented the first one. I played through probably 75% of it based off of my achievements I went back and looked at. None of it's in my memory. I couldn't tell you story. I couldn't tell you what was happening, but like I remember experiencing it. 2 I skipped. Inquisition I jumped onto back in 2013. I think that year's Black Friday sale it was on. Really enjoyed it. That still was the old school gameplay style. What's more, you can switch between, similar to how you do in Inquisition or Veilguard, we could stop combat, free stuff, send your teammates to do specific things, but at a more in-depth level than what was in Veilguard. And that was really, it was fine. I never rolled credits. I got halfway through. I think I got to a boss that I got like hard stuck on and just kind of gave up, never went back. And that too was transition time, new console generation, bunch of other new things out. Didn't want to spend too much time on something I wasn't fully invested in. And yeah, Veilguard, we came in, we both talked about it beforehand, going into release, going into previews, with a lot of excitement. It was flashy, looked cool, the nice having, I mentioned before, the art style, not aiming to be some super realistic over the top thing, a more welcoming, inviting tone, I would say, to people. It's not as gritty and dark. I enjoyed it. It's in my top 5, I think, of the year for releases. I'm slowly doing those on TikTok now before doing a full release on the site. It has broken into my top 5, so enjoy my time with it. I mentioned the last time we talked about it before you rolled credits. I still firmly believe it is a solid RPG. I don't think it's a solid Dragon Age game, which, depending who you are, that sucks, but it does so many good things of welcoming new players in, being very top level with the RPG mechanics, with the conversation and how branching pathways split, which we'll get into a little later when we get into spoiler stuff. Because after beating it, watching you beat it, I looked up kind of the different endings you can get, and it's very much like illusion of choice. So that stuff, it's not you're not having 20 different branching pathways in the game if you're expecting that. You're not having multiple dialogue trees that branch out into drastically different things that affect a whole bunch of quests later on or the main story. Like, that's not here. But as far as being a solid RPG, we talked about the skill tree and being able to reset that at any time and being able to explore and test around things. And it's good at what it does. It just having the Dragon Age name on it, I feel hindered it more than it could have, because people had higher expectations for it. People had higher expectations from BioWare returning to a beloved franchise after their sort of rocky releases recently. So overall, enjoyed. As I said, it's top 5 for me this year. Get into that later on in the year, but it great time. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I'm happy I rolled credits on it. I don't see me returning to it to do other playthroughs later on. I know you mentioned at some point you would, but I've had my 58 hours, I think it was, and that was worth my $70. And that's money well spent for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're pretty similar in how we feel a little bit here. Um, yeah, first Dragon Age game, very much. I did overall enjoy my time with it. I want to echo what you said there at the end. Like, it is a great game, and you also mentioned it somewhere else. It's a great game. It's a great RPG. It might not be a great Dragon Age game. I don't know fully what that means, of course, but I do think this is the game ends up being very surface level feeling by the end of it. I ended up doing almost everything. I maxed out everyone except one. Did I get Lucanis? Yeah, I just didn't get Nev because of one of the choices I made, and I never hung out with her. Um, so I didn't like fully max out her relationship. That's what I'm trying to think of there. And but other than that, I think I did everything I could have. And so I got the level 50 max level. I felt powerful. The ending wasn't that difficult. The final boss fight was pretty straightforward. Um, to me, wasn't that hard. But again, I was max level, so I'm not surprised there. But a little, it felt run of the mill there. So overall, the game fell flat by the end of it for me. Not sure if that was just it overstayed its welcome for me. I do think it was. It could have been way more bloated, which I want to give them props for not overinflating it too much. But I do think running around the same locations every now and then did add to it. Like, I, I didn't mind it too much, but looking back, like when I'm playing it, I didn't notice it. I didn't go, oh man, we're back here again. Outside of mention it on stream, like, oh yeah, like, oh, we've been here before, cool, move on, right? It didn't ruin my experience uh, than it could have. So yeah, it does a lot of good things, but it just doesn't do anything great. I think that's how I feel about this game as a whole. The story had me at the beginning. We were going, we were going, we were going. I was into it, but by the a little after the midway point, I think this like has 3 distinct acts, right? In that middle section, right before the point of no return, I think that's where it kind of plateaued for me and just never picked back up again. Unfortunately. So while I truly enjoyed playing the game, I think it's fun. The combat is fun. I am intrigued to see the two. I played warrior. I would be intrigued to see how the mage and the rogue, if that what it's called, the rogue class, how they upgrade and how they behave. There's one path for the warrior tree I never touched, so that would have been interesting to go play as, or just to mess around with, because I think the combat sandbox is very good, but the reasoning for everything, or like the reasons and stuff like that, it just all fell flat for me. And seeing other people's criticisms, it sounds like the RPG story elements, that they just weren't what they were in previous Dragon Age titles. So that's kind of a bummer there, because I felt like that was lacking for sure.
Yeah, it's what I'm clear. Obviously, when it's like not the Dragon Age game, like I said, it's not the deep, in depth. You need to have a side journal keeping notes on what's happening type thing. Like, if you want, I even said with my playthrough towards the end, like, unless it was a conversation revolving around main main story or my partner, a lot of it I was skipping through because at the end, like, there's either no consequence, there was nothing to really keep track of to fully get my attention. And I played like you did, where I pretty much did everything side quest as much as I could as I went. So yeah, it became I'm ready to wrap this up. Let's just get through it. I'm ready to wrap this up. Let's get through it. Oh shit, I got another 2 hours. Come on, let's wrap it up. Like, which it's weird to say because, like you said, it's good pacing, it's good length if you don't do everything like that. Like, the story's not too long. It's a really pretty straightforward story. This isn't a big, I said I had 56 hours doing everything. This isn't a 80-90 hour Witcher 3 type epic experience. Like, this is a short or relatively RPG that's, like you said, okay all the way around. Um the combat's the other thing I wish was slightly better. I said watch well, it should just be being the mage I picked. But watching your stuff, like, combat looked more engaging, it looked more tactile, it looked more rewarding with what you were doing. Where with the mage, it was very square, 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 triangle, square, square, square,
Oh,
triangle, run around to get my next spell up, and then it was on repeat for most of the end game stuff because a lot of the bosses, um, I mean, it's a bunch of dragons essentially, and they're all really copy and paste as far as abilities. Like, there's not really anything new being introduced to work around or how you need to manage your abilities. You
no, it's
went
just the resistances, but honestly, like that mechanic didn't really come into play heavily until the end, where the final fight, like there's a couple phases where he does switch between resistances and what uh, he's weak to. So like that's cool, but throughout the game, like yeah, that's the difference between these dragon bosses. But other than that, yeah, it just doesn't come up enough, or that just doesn't. It didn't feel like I had to engage with that system heavily. But when you did, it felt like enemies fell really, really quick. So I don't know.
it became a bunch of damage sponges, sadly. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's what it is. I'm curious to see what happens now because it's been rumored, whatever, that they're not sticking with Dragon Age for the next title. So I guess for the foreseeable future, I mean, this is it for Dragon Age fans. Like, this is what you're being left off with. There is a tease that I didn't see, you also didn't get with the way we both ended our games, that points to a sequel of some sorts or a refresh of the game, of the IP. So I almost wonder if, like the rest of the industry, if Dragon Age goes to a new team and BioWare just, because the next thing's Mass Effect. Like, they've made that clear. Mass Effect is their next big push. So is Dragon Age going to be the next? See it again in 10 years, because this has been 2013 to 2024 since we got the last one. Or is the 10-year gap just going to be kind of the norm for now? But at the rate BioWare is going, like, if Mass Effect doesn't hit harder than this does and lands with critics and fans and sells well, like, I'm curious to see where they go from here after this.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think this is just like a good game. I don't think it's something like, hey, it's on a good sale, go pick it up. But yeah, outside of that, it's all right. So yeah, what is Mass Effect coming off of this too? Like, does Mass Effect, obviously they can pivot a little bit still, barring any huge round up decisions they've already made on Mass Effect, but they could pivot a little bit with what that game is. But I think combat wise was strong, but needed a little more depth and evolution towards the end game. It sounds like for every class. Um, so how does that look like in Mass Effect? Is it a similar style what we're doing here? And then of course the story shortcomings that a lot of that we have. You know, are they going to go back to the or can is Mass Effect going to be deeper and have more consequence to its decisions and choices, because there really weren't that in Dragon Age. Like, that makes me a little worried. Not too worried about Mass Effect, but it makes me a little more interested to see and wonder what that game is, and like I'm still obviously wait. We're waiting for another trailer. We just got a teaser, but now I'm like, all right, let. I'm more intrigued to see what the Mass Effect is, what that next one is going to be, because coming off of this, it's interesting that that's what they're focusing on. I think that's a little more interesting to me at the end of the day. Of an IP, I haven't finished two. I beat one, have not beaten two. Yeah. Um, but the evolution of combat is intriguing. I wonder what they're gonna do with that there.
Mm. And all this too with what we're saying, it is still under the idea that I brought up when I finished it, the one tweet I saw from Gene Park, where this was originally a live service style multiplayer game. So that obviously impacted a lot of this. Like all that can't be changed on a dime for a single player game. So you would hope with the Mass Effect that it is just starting from the ground up as the single player big narrative thing that they want it to be, and they won't have to make that pivot halfway through, quarter way through development, whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah, because like that's wild, because this game should never have been a multiplayer game, and it should never be one. It's funny to
You can see it.
with that. Yeah, no, for sure. You can definitely see the skeleton of that there. So yeah, having it be from ground up, focused and directed in the way it should be better for Mass Effect. But yeah, we'll see the next Dragon Age. I just don't think this is gonna leave people wanting more. If anything, they just want more of what they once loved. So we'll see how they approach Dragon Age. I think is it a Mass Effect trilogy we're getting? Because then it might be a they might alternate as well. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility here, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did like two Mass Effect games in a row, given the reception of this one. And given how the next Mass Effect is, of course.
Mm-hmm.
This might, I don't know, maybe BioWare don't got it no more.
God, that'd be so sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
I mean, hey, it's not like it's the same studio anyways. It's just
No.
the same by name.
Um,
At the end of the day, times change. Everything ends.
Getting into endgame stuff, spoilers if anyone's listening and doesn't want spoilers for stuff. Were you happy with how yours ended and your choices that you had at the end? Because ours are drastically different in a couple different ways. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I want to hear specific about your ending in a second, but overall, I think it fell flat. Like it quickly ended. The boss fight was not that difficult. There's a fight earlier in the game, at toward the end of the siege of Weishaupt. There it is. It's about the midway point there. That boss fight has like three. I think it's actually four phases where it's one Hydra head. You defeat that, enemies appear, it comes back out, two, same phase, three heads, and then I think four heads at total, I think. I just found that really dumb. And that's where the game was like, oh, okay, these enemies are getting really spongy. That's where my experience started to get a little negative there. But that fight I thought was a little more difficult because of the space limitations. It made it really cramped to me. The last one I thought was easy. I didn't think it was that difficult. So that also ended up like the boss of Elganon, the big bad, the guy who earlier in the story came through and just kind of made quick work of you all, right? As a party, like that fight actually at the end felt really kind of simplistic. So that didn't help the story. And then it just ends. You get a quick little like, they did this and they went there and no but credits. And I was like, oh shit, like you beat the fight and it's over. Like there's nothing else. Like not even a cutscene of like yeah. So I think that also hurts it at the end of the day too. Like what happens next outside of you see what your party does, but what does Rook do? It's like I don't know. It just felt very open ended to keep it maybe a sequel, but most likely we're probably not going to get a direct sequel to this. In a way, I would imagine we just get something else going on. Um, but yeah, I just at the end, I think, I convinced. I also so let's get specific endings. I convinced Solus to like sacrifice himself, and then the Inquisitor went with him into the veil to lock it back up and keep it intact. So boom, that's what we did. So congrats, so all good. I didn't have to fight him. It was just a conversation, and we were done. So maybe that also is why it fell a little flat to me there. But what was your ending?
Yeah, I was going for your ending. I specifically, the last thing I did before starting the quest was fight that last dragon for his side quest to get the artifact or whatever that you could use to convince him whatever. Um I missed the dialogue or I skipped through where you had to do more on the bottom and I ended up just fighting him. It was very much very similar to Elgona,
Oh, that's a bummer.
which sucks because, like you said, it's the lead up to it. I really liked like the whole when it gives you the point of no return and you're fighting up the tower and you got like kind of quick breaks to talk to party members and a major event happens and it's everything's falling apart around you. Like the build up to it's so good, and then again, just
Yeah, I agree with that. I skipped over all of that stuff. But yeah, the build up is really great in that to that last fight. It's just the specific boss fight for me.
yeah, and then like you said, it's a damage spun boss that's just very base, and then you do it again, and then yeah, you're it's like you said credits, and like you said, it's you don't even get cutscenes. It's a stagnant like tapestry art image of a character and like text of how people view them or what they're off to. Like that's it's shitty, but it kind of goes in hand with how I said it's the option of choice with your story. Like you are either getting path A or path B for every companion you have, and that's it. And your factions are point A to point B. And it
That's
really,
how I. Okay, go for it.
no, it really just like it's a letdown because it's hey, you can do all these things, all this stuff's happening around you. Like you can really make an impact on what's happening in these towns you're visiting and the different factions you're helping, and it's all just kind of for nothing at the end of the day because you don't even get after credits. You can't continue. Like it just puts you back before the quest. Like it's not even a new game, not new game plus, but you can't keep doing side quests afterwards. Like it's a hard lockout. This is your choice. This is your ending. This is where you're at. Restart a cup like an hour before if you want to keep playing.
Yeah, that check is that's a big point. It's a big checkpoint. It's like 4 or 5 hours potentially. Um, yeah, the option of choice, the illusion of choice definitely is an element here. Um, I definitely feel that with Nev not being able to get Nev up to Hero of the Veilguard status, that was the one person I couldn't get up there. Of course, earlier in the game, I made a choice to go to save. You get early. It's like the first big binary choice here in the game. You get to choose to go save Minrathis, go help them from a dragon attack, or help Treviso from a dragon attack. And my character had the background of a crow. Treviso also was not a city with like a military presence or fortifications, so it made more sense, anyways, to go protect Treviso. But that pissed off Nev, and she never liked me again. And I didn't hang out with her. I didn't like her that much as a character, anyways, from the get go. So I was more enamored to hang out with other people. But it it also felt like it was pointless, anyways, to hang out with her because I pissed her off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no like, well, can you understand where I'm coming from? And especially like maybe if I hung out with her, maybe this would have been in there. I doubt it though, but that's not fair to say. I don't know. But having a conversation about like, hey, I get it. It's not fair that I'm pissed at you. You chose a city. It's just this sucks and I'm sad. I felt like that was quickly glossed over, but she was still pissed and it never got resolved. So I feel a little weird there. Like that felt like a binary choice. There's some options later on, like with Tosh specifically, like telling them what culture to choose. That felt weird. It was like towards the end of their quest line, you have to tell them to respect their culture they came from or adopt the new one they're in. It's like, well, why not both? They're both.
That's a
They were
weird thing to
raised in
force
both.
onto you.
Like that's how that works. You're both. Um, so I think that was weird too. But again, it's a well, how do we get you a cutscene? How do we give you choice? So you can't have too many options, budget, whatever. So there was a lot of that throughout the game where your choice definitely feels like it doesn't matter. We are going to end up here anyways. These are the rails. You get the illusion of choice. It's a choose your own adventure, but we're telling the story of Rook and the Veilguard, and you can just change context, but overall it's going to be the same thing, it looks like.
It, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but with the dialogue stuff and how you said like Neve hated you for a bit, whatever, and like never really followed up on that. it gave me Starfield vibes.
Oh
And we
yeah.
talked about this with Shattered Space, where you started the revolution, whatever, and then it's just like, okay, that's it. We're not gonna bring it up again. Like, I want
Are you
outcomes for
kidding me?
that.
You just started the crusade? Yeah, but I didn't. You like me though. Oh yeah, I do. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
Just be better. Thanks, Sarah Morgan.
like I want outcomes of that. I want like a faction to be like, nah, you're out of our city. Like you're hard locked out of stuff. Like that's the type of
And I
stuff I'm
liked
like,
it at the beginning. I did. I liked that concept, but the way it plays out, it falls flat. And I think that's the payoff just isn't there for a lot of the game.
um, for the end, I think we both lost Davrin. Yeah, did you
You
lose
lost Davin
Davrin?
too. That's crazy.
So that's I don't know how in depth you want me to go because this is where I looked up to see the different outcomes. Um,
Okay, yeah. Touch on it
it's
a little bit. Again, spoilers. We're
yeah,
gonna
it's
go
full
into a lot of
spoilers,
different stuff here.
and a lot of this is that the good lead up to the boss fights. Like this is the good stuff before the bad ending. Sadly, you get the choice to lead a distraction team, where it's either Harding or Daverin. That no matter what, whoever you pick, axed, they're out of here. Like they're if you have their relationship full, if you made them whatever the top rank thing is, doesn't matter. That person's just
Hmm.
gone. Which I'm like, okay. Um, you get a point where it's people dismantling wards between Balara and Neve, which you Neve on your end.
I say Nev. I think it's Nev.
Okay, so you had her I sent Balara. That again, no matter what, they get kind of kidnapped and taken over later on. So that are like because I tuned into yours as she came out, kind of blighted or whatever. I'm like, oh shit! So there is different like things that could happen, and chances of them not um coming out fully. And then I had another choice that I couldn't find in this list here, but I also ended up losing um Emmerich
Huh.
at the choice after. I lost him, which I was really taken aback by because he was one of my like main people I hung out with. And I made him in his quest line. I told you you went to like uh promote his apprentice skeleton buddy, whatever, where I made him become like a full lich and he looked like a skeleton lord floating around and like all this cool epic shit going on. And that was one of the last things I did. And then like 2 hours later, he's gone. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks.
I guess yeah, which is weird because he shouldn't die, right? I don't understand.
Yeah, I lost
Whatever.
I lost those two. Neve Nev at the end. She was saved. She came out, did her thing, did her distraction, whatever she was out to do, saved her. But yeah, I lost Davern and Emmerich in mine.
Yeah, I think
Which Davern, whatever. Emmerich sad.
yeah, Davin. I think I did Davin and Nev. I think I lost them. Yeah, yeah. Again, yeah. You know, you're telling a story. I get that choice. You kind of have to make the option or the choice there. If like you do want some things to be hard locked, like here's a choice. These are the two players. Obviously, that make the most sense to send them for this objective. That's what players are going to naturally choose. So here's your choices, and here you go. So I'm fine with that. It's just the payoff, right? It's glossed over fast. Like I liked Davern, but I felt like his quest just didn't land his character enough with me. I just didn't. I really loved him in Asan. I love that stuff. I loved Asan, the little griffin. But the person of Davern just didn't land with me. So then when he was gone, it was like, oh, all right. I
He
kind of expected him to come back since Asan dove in after him. I was like, oh, maybe they come back blighted, but no, they're just like gone. It felt very anticlimactic. And again, with the game ending so quick at the end, it felt even more so. I think it could have benefited from having a cutscene of like a final scene, just one extra scene of them around a fire at talking about the people they lost. That alone would have just helped kind of wrap a bow on everything, I think. But it just feels like the whole party glosses over their losses and then never deals with it.
yeah, Davern almost felt like a third wheel in his own story, which is
Yeah.
wild to say. But like, it was very Asan focused and like doing stuff for the Griffins and he just felt kind of like the verbal mouthpiece for that whole side story. So yeah, when I lost him, like, I used you maybe twice. Sorry. Nice knowing you. Thanks for your sacrifice.
Yeah.
There is I mentioned it earlier. There is a secret ending that neither one of us got, and I found nothing to even trigger this. Um, there are 3 different relics you can find hidden around the world. No side quests tied to them. They're just very well hidden. If you find all of those, you do get a secret post credit scene of kind of how the ending is, where it's like recounting what happened, what your journey was, and there's almost like a couple oracles looking down over the events happening, and they're like unraveling the threads or whatever. And that's where I'm kind of like, okay, so they're either having this be the hard end for this, because this is loosely tied in with Inquisition. You make your Inquisitor, kind of pick your choices you could have had in the last game 10 years ago. That kind of makes me think that this is going to be just a hard reset on the series, a hard reset of what Dragon Age is, and do it from a lore perspective and make it still kind of make sense. But that gives you a fresh starting point if you do want to switch the excuse me, the gameplay to a more action thing like this, or go back to the old school, like. But I don't know how many people are going to see that or even know that exists to warrant it happening when it does without further explanations. I'm like, secret ending, cool. I'll see if this actually becomes of anything in my lifetime. Like,
Yeah. I don't think you have to really worry about explaining that too much. If anything, it's just a fun cutscene that hints at a bigger thing here. I do think it makes sense that there's a soft reboot coming up of this, especially if you focus on Mass Effect for a little bit. When you revisit this, it's not like picking up this story like it sounds like the games kind of have been doing into each other, right? Especially how you had your saves carry over, right? From game to game, so you can influence the story pretty directly. This one didn't have that. You could just choose some pretty specific choices. And you send your the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor like left in my work, in my game, right? They joined Solus in the Vale there. So this is a wrap up of that storyline as well, right? So it kind of does just make sense. If this was a multiplayer title too at the beginning, like the scope and the direction, and the intention, it all makes sense. Now let's refocus. And get like another game going that can tell a deeper story.
so with
But
that,
yeah, okay,
is
go.
Dragon Age on? I mean, I'm assuming it's in your top list. Are you doing a top list this year?
I
Is
will,
it
yeah, yeah,
cemented
I
in
will for us to have
2024?
conversation. So that'll probably be on the last episode we do this year.
Okay.
I'm assuming we'll talk further about that. That I looked at our little schedule we posted, but um, yeah, right now it's definitely in the probably within the top 10. But I wouldn't be surprised if it falls out. I just haven't looked at all the games I've played this year.
Ooh.
So yeah, like at the ending, it fell flat. If I'm gonna invest all this time, I want it to feel like it was worth it. And at the end of the day, I just didn't feel like it was worth it. I feel like if this is a game that I waited and then play it on Game Pass in a year or two, or got it for sale, I might not beat it and be okay with that, right? But I stuck my head down. I wanted to do to kind of play this game fully and play my first Dragon Age and be able to talk about it, and yeah, this is where we're at with it. So I don't have a number for it. I don't do that.
No, that's fine. I would just
But it is like a 6 or 7. I like saying I don't give numbers and then I give the number.
we give letter grades here.
We have done letter grades. I mean, it's easily a D plus C minus.
Damn.
We could bump you up to a C minus so you don't fail Dragon Age because I don't want to be that mean.
Well, I
Yeah, I
want
mean,
any
hey,
of
if
them
you're
to
gonna have
fail.
me, what?
I don't want any of them to fail.
Well, I'm just going. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That is our
What will you
Dragon
give it?
Age. If C, solid C. I
Yep,
I feel if I didn't try and 100% quote unquote, it would probably be a B minus. Honestly, like
that's
I
fair. Yeah,
had
I
fun,
feel
but
that.
it's just the way I played it really took a lot out of it. Which I mean, it happens to me a lot. Sadly, going for achievements and stuff. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, what can you do? Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what Mass Effect is going to look like. It would, I think I'd be a little disappointed if Mass Effect was really similar to this.
Yeah,
So that's how I feel. Yeah, but that is a game of the past that didn't win anything.
didn't win anything. Dragon
Win
Age didn't
anything
win
at what?
anything.
That's what I'm saying.
Game Awards, Game Awards, Game Awards, Kyle. Holy shit. I really like this show. I, this show in overall, I feel I don't want to say the best, but it's up there. Like it announcements, the pacing. Usually Jeff has some it's very top heavy, and as the show progresses it falls off very fast. I didn't get that here like other years. Just entirely. I wish more awards had time on stage. That became a larger side point this year, I feel, where it was just kind of rapid fire off a few on the side. I think there was maybe 4, maybe 5 that actually got up on stage and gave a speech and got recognition. Would have liked more of that, but I understand why. But yeah, I really like the show. We'll get into announcement stuff as we go through, but holy crap, what a way to cap off 2024 and where we're at in games, and finally address a bunch of elephants in the room that Jeff usually avoids as far as layoffs and industry management and industry growth and stuff like that, and actually after years of criticism finally putting a spotlight on it to a point in a room full of the people in charge of shit like that. Hats off to you, Jeff.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sorry. I thought I was muted. My bad.
Oh, you're
Yeah, I do agree. It felt like one of the better shows. I did watch this while taking care of my daughter, so I was like walking around. She just started walking not that long ago, Thanksgiving. So we're just walking around the house a lot. It's really fun getting my steps in. So I was in and out. I definitely felt the lull, and that's where I really was like more hanging out with my daughter because I was not distracted by the middle of the show. But that's expected in any type of show, an award thing. You want it to be hype at the beginning, right? And then you want it to dip a little bit so people can kind of like relax and rest, and then you want to pick back up towards the end. So it's not a bad thing if there's trailers for you in that moment. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna be hype, and sometimes there are, and sometimes they're not. For me, the hype announcements, the surprise stuff, not too many of it landed hard for me. Um, but it's just because I don't know the studio, like RGG, and like Okami. I don't know anything about that. So like, there are some elements of the show that I just didn't find like crazy cool, but people seemed real happy for it. But again, that's just my personal interest, so that is okay. The pacing of the show did feel really, really good. I like that. No one felt like they were rushed. No one felt like they ran out of time. Of course, they didn't have a ton of people on stage though, and I want to echo that. I do wish we were able to hear from these developers. I posted a quick little recap of the Game Awards, all the announcements and such on my YouTube channel. And over there, I think I brought it up on our show too, but I mentioned it both. I just why don't they add on on the day before or the day after, just promo, publicity, PR for the people nominated or just the winners, which would have to be the day after, where they can just talk to the people and do interviews and get into depth of the games. And if you're talking to the winners, that's where they can do an acceptance speech as part of a bigger kind of just podcast conversation, a 20-30 minute conversation with each winner of the category. I think would be really, really, really insightful and very interesting. Of course, that's a whole production thing they have to organize, but most people are there. And if you can't, just do it on Zoom like things do. So, and maybe it's not the day after, maybe it's not, a week or two after once the announcements are done. Then you can talk to them. I just think still give them the platform. I would love it to be attached to the show, have it the day after or before the show. They're doing interviews like a red carpet style thing. That'd be really cool. I think that's where the show can improve on is showcasing the developers, but it is an award show and it's like the end of the year and you are there for the trailers. So I think that is okay. I think the balance was the best it could be as of right now, but I said what I wanted out of the show already.
yeah, it's weird that we can even talk about the show itself as much as that, because it has been a point of discussion the past few years, and a lot of well done critiques and stuff that's kind of been overlooked. Like I said, the layoffs and stuff that Jeff just usually doesn't want to touch. And finally doing that and leaving a spotlight and leaving space for that, whether it be directly or with the fucking Muppets on the side making jokes about it, like it shows that he's memed to death on Twitter for what he does, but he's listening and he sees the comments and he sees the feedback and he is making changes for that to make this a more meaningful, larger experience for us. That it's a free thing. We watch it anywhere for free. Like, yeah, tickets are kind of expensive this year, but like it's a free event at the end of the day online to watch and celebrate and be informed and all this stuff. And he's doing the steps to improve it each year. And this year, I feel like he really put his foot down, and this is where we're going the next 10 years. This is the 10th year anniversary. We've grown this much. This is the kind of stuff we could accomplish now. Let's go have a good time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he addressed it and it felt good. It was a step in the right direction. So excited to see where they keep going. Again, room for improvement, but overall, yeah, I great show.
I want to quickly run through if any awards stood out to you that you want to bring up. Go through those fast for the big announcements and surprises. Big one for the night. I'm so incredibly happy. The big winner, game of the year, went to my little blue boy, Astrobot. So happy that it won. I tweeted out, I was hoping and wishing it did because I had so much fun with that game. As soon as the show ended, on that same day, they released a new free level with 7 more bots to collect. It was entirely Christmas themed. And I jumped into that after the show ended. I'm like, holy shit, like this just reaffirms everything I thought about this game. Just the amount of love and care and charm and detail. And I can't not turn that on and just not have a smile on my face. And I'm bravo, Astrobot. I love you so much. So happy you won. Not happy that it's been shat on because people want Black Myth and Elden Ring to win, which we're probably going to go through next year again with Elden Ring when it's nominated again. We'll talk about, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yep. Haven't played Astrobot. Probably won't. But that's not. Yeah. I just probably won't. But the way people describe it and have so much love for it, it just kind of makes it's not a surprise that it won. So a game that brings that much joy and has that much passion and love baked into it, that's just felt and seen. Yeah, I think that qualifies for game of the year. So congrats. They also won best game direction as well, which I thought that one they filled out best game direction incredibly well in my opinion. Just by visually looking at it, I think that having a game that can have a platformer that is identifiable at this point as Astro as the mascot, right? Astrobot. But then it can take all the properties and put it into that art style and have it fit that aesthetic and look like it's all one thing, even though they're different properties and whatnot. Like, I think that's good. And then when you add on, that's like art design, right? But when you add that on top of the mechanics and whatnot, it seems like they all go. That seems like game direction to me, with my limited knowledge of that. So, congrats to Astrobot for winning. I think 4 awards, 4 awards, something like that. But well deserved there. Love it. Game with a lot of charm. Deserve it.
Oh yeah, I won those 2, best action adventure game, which was kind of surprised by, best family game.
Okay, yeah.
It took the Nintendo category away from Nintendo, which I was kind of shocked to see.
Yeah, which they talked about Nintendo. They thanked them. They mentioned how important that is. And again, hey, it's all industry. Yeah, you're competing quote for awards and for money and profit and people's attention, but you're influencing everyone at the same time, or at least you potentially can. So pay homage to the people who help you out. Homage. I want to give a shout out to the best performance, going to Melina Jurgens, of course, lead actress from Hellblade Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. There, she took home that. She won it the first time for the first game as well, so she's the first 2-time winner of this category, and then Hellblade 2 also winning Best Audio Design, which again just makes a lot of sense. I thought
Yep.
her performance in there was very good. And then the audio design for Hellblade 2 is incredible. It is such a huge part of that game. Uh, Adds to the narrative, adds to the gameplay. It's incredible. So play it with headphones if you have yet to play that game.
Yeah. One I was kind of surprised by. Best adaptation went to Fallout, which I thought almost for sure Arcane was going to grab just based off of recency.
Didn't Arcane already win though? One, not that that really matters.
Yeah, I think the first year, what is that, 3 years ago would have been?
Yeah. So and it also like was coming out while Game Award voting and nominee shit was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that felt a little odd. But also, I think Fallout was incredibly good. I think it is very worthy of winning that award for sure, because that is a very good adaptation of a video game.
Your Frostpunk 2 walked away with Best Sim Strategy.
Yes, I wanted that or Manor Lords because I'm still touching Manor Lords every now and then. Love that game on PC Game Pass and Steam. But yeah, Frostpunk 2, great. It's a great game. Give it if you played the first one, go do it. But the changes they made, just it's what I wanted out of that game, and it is different than the first one. I know they were like the one of the developers I saw posted about it and was like, we were a little worried about having the design change of this game. The changes they made from 1 to 2, they were worried about at the end of the day, paraphrasing a tweet here. But so it's good to see that they won an award. The game is good. Give it a shot. I'm in my simulation game era right now, playing that, City Skylines, Manor Lords. It's not good.
Becoming a city builder. Gonna be managing
I am.
cities real life soon.
I was driving around and I was like looking, I noticed like the lines on the road today and I was like, oh yeah, like you could have traffic route that way. And I was like, that's wild because I have a lot of traffic in my city right now. I can't solve it. Roundabouts aren't working. I just don't know what to do.
Sign him up. New job. Well, Kyle's not on the podcast anymore. He's doing bigger and better things.
I'm a city manager.
Yeah, overall good. A little sad. Like a Dragon didn't walk away with anything. I think it was only nominated for 2 categories, but that's just me being greedy. I'm surprised too. Final Fantasy didn't walk away with as much as I was expecting, coming off of it being Game of the Year winner before and just absolutely tearing house down when remake came out. Like I thought for sure.
Yeah, but that's different.
It is, but people still.
It's more of the same. That's the thing. Is it's just more of the same. Same with Elden Ring. Like, fun conversation. Is it going to win? Is it not? DLC. Blah blah blah. It's more of the same. Like, worthy of a nomination, sure, but I think when you get something like Astrobot, which is they had Astro Playroom and whatnot, but this is the first full game, so yeah, like this is different. This is new. This is exciting. Just like It Takes Two won that. It Takes Two won that year, right? I think you could see the games that are winning. It's not games that kind of do the same thing over and over. So I'm not surprised those ones did not win.
That's fair. That is fair. We were all winners though, Kyle, with the announcements we got. Run through. I'm in the same spot as you with some of these. How you said like the big announcements don't really hit, but I'm the type of like soft-hearted person. Like even stuff I don't understand, I'm still getting hyped because I see other people getting hyped from it. And I just kind of feed off that energy.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah, really solid. There's a couple of these we'll stop on and talk about as they require or should acquire more in-depth conversation. I just want to throw out real fast. Dave the Diver got new DLC in the Jungle coming out next year. Not really announced more information on that. New Ninja Gaiden game was announced from the Double Dragon team. Shadow Labyrinth, loosely based off Pac-Man game, which I absolutely shit for because we watched Secret Levels, that episode particularly, the night before the Game Awards, and it started and I was like, oh, this kind of looks like that, and it happened. I was like, holy shit.
That's amazing.
I was like, it's lined up perfectly.
That's good.
Just a wild thing. Dark, gritty Pac-Man. You need to look at it. It's graphic. It's wild. It's not normal. Uh, that's our pre-show stuff. Main show started off wild, and this is one of the ones I was super excited for. I've never played any of these games. Witcher 4 is officially announced, running on you advertisements, running on, as noted at the bottom of the video, an unannounced Nvidia graphics card, I believe. So hey, new information for PC players. This game is so
5000
incredibly
series.
far out.
Yeah. I haven't watched the full interview. They've done some interviews after the Game Awards. I know Paris Lily has one up, but this definitely is a couple years away. They just moved off full production off of Cyberpunk 2077, moved it onto Project, whatever they call it, Polaris. There it is, which is The Witcher 4 here. So excited to see what this turns into. A great CGI trailer. Was watching Alana Pierce stream. She said she had some friends play it who are playtesting The Witcher 4. Here's a little scoop. And they saying like it looks on like pretty close to what the trailer looks like. Like that's what they're aiming for. So just a little tidbit. Again, it's in playtesting. It's early, and I'm hearing it from someone who heard it from someone. So that's just info there. But that's just kind of conversation about The Witcher 4. I expect when you look at Cyberpunk, this game is going to look tremendously insane. Like it's going to look incredible. So it's going to be surprising that the game's gonna get close to what this game looks like or what the trailer looks like specifically. Excited. I love The Witcher. Witcher 3 is amazing, fantastic. I gotta get to the DLC. I slowly work through that game. I re-downloaded it. This trailer got me again. I'm like, man, I gotta go hunt some monsters. I gotta go get back into into The Witcher here. So I'm excited to see more of this. I think I like The Witcher more than like the Cyberpunk games. I think when you compare those two games from the same developer here. So I'm looking forward to this now. Can't wait to play a Siri too.
Are you? Because the internet's not, Kyle. We don't talk about
That's why I said that. The internet's dumb as hell and they don't know what women look like and what a normal woman looks like. And they would be scared if they saw a normal woman look at them. And also it just gives them money to have people hate them. So like just don't interact with the people that are trying to get hate. Like it pays them. But it is ridiculous that people think she looks like dog shit and they hit her with an ugly stick because that's dumb. She looks like a human being. She looks like an adult woman.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. And she's not, you can't be a Witcher, women can't be. We haven't played the game yet. We don't know what they're doing. You're mad at a story thing you don't know.
That you won't know for a few years.
Yeah. Like, they sent Captain America in the ice. That's so dumb. He should be around. He's one of the best characters. Wait till the story plays out. He comes back. Like, it's so funny to criticize narrative when it's like you don't know it. You don't know yet. Like, anyways, Witcher 4. Can't wait. Great game.
Can't wait to play it in 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's a good time for that, I expect.
Yeah. Right afterwards, good old FromSoft's back. I'm excited to hear this from you, Kyle. We got Elden Ring Night Rain, which is a wildly different take on what a Souls-like is. This is 3-person, I think, max multiplayer kind of battle royale. You'll be dropped in randomly and have a 3-day time cycle to run around, collect items, armor, upgrades, whatever, leading up to the 3rd day, which will throw you into like a random boss fight with the equipment that you've collected. If you spend too much time in the trailer, you see this blue flame kind of close in that will be closing in around the map, kind of pushing you in towards where the boss fight will happen. Outside of my knowledge, some of the bosses in here, I guess one of them's from Dark Souls. There's a Bloodborne boss featured in here. Like, it's kind of a FromSoft greatest hits in the Elden Ring world that's fully multiplayer. And I'm curious to see what this is fully. Like, is this going to have a story element to it? Is this going to have an overarching narrative? Or is it just going to be a fun kind of party style game? Coming out next year.
So sorry. I was pulling up the IGN article because they played it and they have a lot of info. So I just wanted to pull that up real quick. Yeah, this was surprising to see because I think no one expected a From Software trailer for a game that comes out next year as well. Especially it being Elden Ring. So as the art comes up, you're like, "Oh, this looks cool." And you're like, "Wait a minute." And then it's like From Software. It's like, "What the heck is there? What are they doing? This is Elden Ring." Did not expect it to be a multiplayer side project or a spin-off, right? This is I At first it's like, oh, they figured out a multiplayer for Elden Ring to have it be not the way it currently is in the game, right? To make it a little more seamless, a little more straightforward, so you can just have friends run with you the whole time through your whole game. But no, this is a spin-off game, which does make sense in a way. The map changes, all the locations move as you load in. There's like I think there's 8 different characters. That's what I wanted to double check here. 8 different character classes that you choose that you jump in with. Very different than what Elden Ring is, but the gameplay will still be there, of course, being that From Software gameplay. And I'm excited to see what this turns into and more of it. I'm interested to see if it hits because it feels like this is not something that From Software has ever done before. This seems like kind of unique to what they're doing, and yeah, having the storm circle close in, very similar to Fortnite and all the other battle royales. Like very very intriguing. This isn't. It can be single player as well, though. Just wanted to mention that.
Oh, okay. Did just is the multiplayer taken over by AI then, or just by yourself entirely?
So here it is. It can also be played single player. Enemy health pools scale down, so it doesn't get too crazy. So that's what it is. It's just scaled
Okay.
for probably how many players you have in there.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah,
Curious if I jump
very
into
unique
this.
thing.
Yeah,
Like you're telling me that they're going to do a multiplayer game for Elden Ring. Like this is unique. It's different. So I mean, it makes me way more intrigued.
I'll be
See if it
curious to
hits.
see how the old bosses kind of work in Elden Ring's gameplay loop. I say it with like the Bloodborne one being featured, where Bloodborne is very like the parry heavy, and you have the guns, like how that kind of works around and new tactics people
Yeah,
find. I won't be
yeah.
that
We'll
in
have to
depth
see
with
what
it, but
how much they include of that in there. You know, like what are they? How much are they messing with what Elden Ring already is? Or are they just are they just putting in those bosses because they fit? That it's easy to put in, or are they getting like pretty wild with it? Right?
yeah, gameplay mechanics being reworked, what they do reworked. It'll be interesting. Next year too as well. Like it's another 2025 title filling up the space, taking up the
Yep.
time. Next year's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
Another 2025 title that completely caught me off guard. Xbox showed up. Xbox showed up with the Outer Worlds 2. Not a solid date given. Outside of 2025, I did see, I think it was Jez Gordon on Twitter. Everything announced so far from Xbox with the 2025 window is still locked for 2025. And there has been one that slipped out of the year, but it's nothing we know about, so whatever. Um, Holy shit, wild. I love this trailer. I love how they do their trailers for Outer Worlds. They've always been goofy and fun, even from the first one. And grounded trailers, like they just don't take themselves seriously and have fun with it. Uh Joining next year, so Obsidian's now giving us Avowed, which obviously got pushed to next year, and Outer Worlds too, which you would assume obviously end of the year. Give Avowed the beginning, give Outer Worlds the fall. I'm excited. I hope this hits for me a little more. I didn't fully love Outer Worlds, but it also came out in a time where I was moving from Michigan and my world was crazy and I didn't get as much time and dedicated energy to it. So I'm hoping I grab onto this one a little more than last time.
Yeah, I really liked the first Outer Worlds. That's kind of where I think when this came out, this was around the time I was starting to like buy games for myself and like invest in it outside of like I'm bored. My friends are playing too. I'll just do it, and then you kind of keep doing it. And you buy sports games. Like, ooh, this is like a game, right? So like I hold a special place for the Outer Worlds, for some reason here, and I enjoyed the first one. It was smaller in scope, which I very much enjoyed. So I'm ready for a second one. I'm all down for it. Very surprising. 2 in a year, of course. You mentioned it. Avowed got delayed, so it would be 1 and 1, right, back to back. Not that crazy to hear about. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets pushed into first, like, fill what the next year's Avowed slot, right? If Avowed's coming out February, this isn't that awful to have in February too. And if that's the cadence, that's a February RPG type game from Xbox, a smaller scope one, hell yeah, I could be down for that. But I'd be down to play this in fall too, so whatever. Either way, I'm excited to see like kind of more varied environments, bigger environments. I remember the maps feeling kind of small, and they're like, "Oh man, okay." So the first zone you walk into the Outer Worlds, like we're a town, a settlement, we're mining, we have people working here, but they all left our settlement because they're mad at me. Go talk to them. It's like, oh man, I was like, we need them to come back. And they're just like around the corner. It feels like I remember being like, oh, they're just like down. They're just on the other side of this big rock, essentially. Like, they're not that far from you guys at all. They're like, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the wilderness. It's like, okay. Again, video game, suspend your belief a little bit. um, but yeah, I'm excited to see if it's a little bigger. In the trailer, they make the joke about the game taking 3 times as long and it's 2 times as big. If it's around the 40 to 50 hour range, that's like maxing out for me. 30 to 40, I think, is ideal for a game. So we'll see. I hope that's what it is. I'm expecting the fun abilities, the weird weapons, and the goofiness that Obsidian has kind of had permeating throughout their titles lately, and I very much enjoy that. So, can't wait.
Can't wait. I'm gonna throw out one more here before I throw it to you for a couple, which you want to point out. Split Fiction from Hazelight Studios announced. I'm so excited. I loved It Takes Two. It's a very similar gameplay style. You are two authors who end up in like a simulation where it's a company who like takes your ideas and makes them into like their own physical world type thing. You get thrown in the same pod somehow and your ideas kind of blend together, so you'll jump from a fantasy setting to a futuristic thing and back and forth. And It Takes Two to where it'd be like a top down Dungeons and Dragons role playing thing, do a gun shooting section, do a flying section. Like, it's got that same type of thing going where each level's throwing a new mechanic at you, throwing something new at you to keep you interested. um I'm excited. It Takes Two was high up for me when it came out to I think 2021. Can't wait. Also coming out March 6th, so early in the year. Don't even have to wait too long. They're keeping with their friend pass, whatever, or if you buy a copy, you get a free one. Send your friend to do full co-op with. Hint, hint, Kyle. Can't wait. March 6th, 2025.
Yeah, no, we should play this. It would be fun to stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't beaten It Takes Two. Played it with my wife. Started both A Way Out and It Takes Two with my wife while we were dating and such, but have not beaten either of them. We just don't sometimes return to games. But these games are fun. Like, and I think I love that they're finding success games that are dedicated, built from the ground up to be co-op in this way. I think that studio is just finding more and more ways to make that be fun and interactive and have it be you're both on the same screen together. It's split screen, you're off doing separate things, but you're working towards a common goal. But then you're together and you're on one shared screen and you're doing an activity that requires both of you to do stuff. Like, it's so innovative and creative a lot of times. So I'm incredibly excited to see what else they can do with that. I just remember having a smile on the face for so much of It Takes Two. They're just a joy to play, and I can't wait to see if this one can land. I love the story. They're going to get a little meta and have something to say with a story that's designed around two artists that get trapped, and then now the company's trying to steal their stories. Like that. Okay, all right, Joseph Ferris, we see you. We see you.
He's cooking something up.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Can't wait. I love these little piggies too that are on stream. I'm seeing them right now.
What do you want to throw to? A couple trailers that piqued your interest, since not everything.
I want to shout out Helldivers 2 for shadow dropping, of course, their new not expansion, but their new I guess expansion. It's weird how I don't know what to call what they do. Their new DLC drop, I guess, where they have a new enemy faction, the Illuminate, in the game. I haven't tried it yet, but I love when game and studios can just like drop a game and say it's out now. That's exciting. And for a game like Helldivers, makes a lot of sense. It kind of fits what that is. They had the guy cut from the trailer come out on stage. Love that. That was a fun moment. Same guy there. So yeah, I want to try this at some point. I want to shout out the aliens that look like the ones from War of the Worlds. That movie scared me as a kid, but I watched it because we would go to Universal Studios in Hollywood where they have the setup with the plane scene from that movie where a plane crashes in a house, and you see Tom Cruise carry Dakota Fanning out into the car to, but she's not supposed to look at the plane crash. Like at Universal, you could go through that on the tram ride, so I went through it, and it's really cool. But then I would watch War of the Worlds, and I'd get really scared because the aliens are really scary in that movie. But anyways, Helldivers they have an enemy type that looks like those giant things, so that's exciting.
Perfect. I love that.
Yeah, that's I mean, and then the last one, if outside of that, like there's not too many other announcements that we haven't talked about that piqued my interest outside of Naughty Dog's new one, which just the vibe of that. So if you're good to wrap up with that one, I think we can end on Intergalactic.
We can. I want to, if that's our ending, I want to throw one more out here
Okay, yeah.
just because this studio has become one of my favorites in recent years, and they're absolutely killing it. Um, Ryuga Gotaku Studios, Like a Dragon,
RGGM.
Infinite Wealth, Yakuza series. What a workhorse studio, man! They have or Yakuza Like a Dragon was my first game with them. Um, back in what 2020 that came out. Fell in love immediately. Since then, they've had two different remakes or spin-offs come out with Lost Judgment. They have been in control of the Super Monkey Ball series for Sega since then. They have remade Like a Dragon Ishin, which was originally a PS2 game. They have released a second spin-off in 2023 that was a prequel to Infinite Wealth that came out. They dropped Infinite Wealth this year. They're dropping Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii in early 2025. They randomly came out and announced two more games when half the shit they announced isn't even out yet, and I don't know how they're doing it. They started off with all we know is Project Century. This looks very much like the old Yakuza's, where it's a street brawler, but way more refined. The combat and interactions with people is very seamless and smooth, and it doesn't seem to pull you out into a battle arena to do combat. I'm curious to see where this fits, if it's tied into the Yakuza series, because all their stuff kind of has underlying themes, or with like Ishin, it's sent in like ancient Japan, and they just straight up pulled the characters from Yakuza and made them into new people in the old time, but they look exactly how they do in current time, so it's weird and goofy. Um, Super excited for this. I can't wait to see what this is, how this ties in. If we're getting a new like a dragon in 2026 at the rate they're going, this was just a massive surprise. Absolutely beautiful. Love the water effects. Like I said, combat's very smooth. Um, can't wait. The other thing with them, they also announced that they are taking over the Virtua Fighter series, which caught me off guard because they have never worked on it before outside of doing the Windows port last year for Virtua Fighter 5. Um so I'm curious to see how this lands. This also caught me off guard because I thought this was also just another Like a Dragon, because this opening character looks like Ichiban Kasuga from Infinite Wealth that came out this year. So I'm like, are we just getting Yakuza characters in Virtua Fighter now and they're just making it like a Yakuza fighter? I don't know. It's weird. This studio's cracked. They're doing something. I don't know what. Constant games coming out. Who knows? I love them. I love these.
Guys of the Studios is one of those studios for me that's like cool. I saw them. I'm like, oh, that looks okay. And then yeah, internet, even on this, people were hype. So congrats. I just don't have any history or
No, it's
yeah,
one of
I
those
don't have
things
any
where
history with them.
they're like they're kind of like where Capcom's at now, where the rate
See, I
they're
thought this
dropping
was like a
titles.
One Piece thing, if I'm being honest.
Oh, I could see that.
I was like, One Piece fighting game? And then it wasn't. I was like, oh, okay, I just don't know what this is. So
But yeah, that excited about. You mentioned earlier in passing, Okami's back after 20 years. Um,
yeah, it seemed like a big announcement. So.
Original lead is back. He went off after Okami to do Bayonetta. All the Platinum fighting games. They had the Transformers when they came out. They had an Avatar game that came out. Wonderful 101 on Wii U. Just doing a bunch of wild projects. He has returned to lead an Okami sequel. Can't wait. Originally came out on PS2. Beautiful art style and graphics and presentation and doing moves with a paintbrush and just like filling in the world as you go. It was very ahead of its time back then. I'm curious to see how they do. Um, and then Onimusha is the last one for me that is back. Again, 20 years since Onimusha 1 came out. They had like 3 sequels. Um, for you who doesn't know, Kyle, Onimusha was kind of like the third wheel for Capcom branched off of Resident Evil. They had a Resident Evil. They released Dino Crisis, which was just Resident Evil with the dinosaurs. And then they did Onimusha, which was just Resident Evil with the demons in ancient Japan. It had the same like tank control style that the original Resident Evils had, similar inventory management, well, just very copy paste, but it quickly branched out to being really weird and from going to ancient Japan to you're in current day France fighting demons with a French cop and just goofy. I can't wait. I love it. It was one of the first games my dad gave me um when he was getting rid of his PS2 and like I was getting more into games. He's like, I have this, I have the guidebook for it, I could never beat it. Take this off my hands. And I have that memory of that summer playing Onimusha 1 burned in my head since then. And seeing
Beating
that
it
back.
that night and then being like, "What's up, Dad? Like you suck."
Definitely didn't do that.
I like beat it right away.
Just in front of him and be like, suck it.
Like, oh, I already beat that game. Why do you need a guide?
Yeah, I can't wait.
No, that's awesome.
The trailer started and I was like, the girlfriend was sitting next to me. I'm like, if these little bastards get sucked up into a glove on his hand, I'm gonna freak. And then it did. And then I watched Kind of Funny's reaction, and Tim said the exact same thing. I'm like, we're on the same wavelength. This is how it goes.
It's so fun. Well, it's like there's this tentpole of some franchise that hasn't come out in such a long time, and wait, if they do the thing, it's that franchise, and they did the thing. Just like if it's a dark screen, like if 3 glowing green eyes pop up, we're popping off, and it's like we know what it is, right? It's so funny that that Onimusha, the orbs going into a gauntlet. You know that's one of their trademark images apparently.
Mm-hmm. And it worked.
Hey, yeah, it works, right?
It worked.
That's awesome.
Like you said, though, last announcement of the night, which I like how they did this too, because Jeff started off with one final thing, giant jump on stage. They did the Okami thing, went to a break, came back. That smug bastard was like, actually, one more thing. Trailer started. People rejoiced. We all had a great time. How are you feeling on this? First game from Naughty Dog since Last of Us Part 2. And there are multiple remakes.
No, they have a bunch of remasters.
Sorry. So wildly different than what they've done. Like, being stuck in real world settings so long with Uncharted and Last of Us, this is so wildly off course for them. I was kind of surprised. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm in the minority of people who have reactions about this, so I'll let you go first.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I have not played a Naughty Dog like on day one. I've never touched the Uncharted series or their older games. I've played a little bit of Last of Us, and I have not touched The Last of Us 2. That's my experience with Naughty Dog games there. But I really like this trailer. This is a sick-ass trailer for sure. It is just, it kind of sets the vibe very clear. The music choice, the aesthetics, the blatant but tasteful product placement so far is good. I'm definitely intrigued to see what this is. It does look like it is going to be a melee focused combat type game, and of course Naughty Dog is known for its stories, and there's a lot of story in this trailer that we just don't know what it's pointing to exactly yet. But you're like a space cowboy bounty hunter searching for it seems like your old crew, and then it sounds like based off of a description, right? Like you get stuck on the planet that you're going to see uh, once the trailer, or we saw already, but so I'm excited to see fully what this is. You know, I think it looks tremendous. I saw people on Twitter uh, pointing out like her putting on the coat, and it's like that actually is very impressive to have someone in a game put on clothing. The camera trick to hide her, get the other arm in was also very good. So like people pointing that stuff out, I'm like, ooh, that shit's interesting. So I think it's a very good trailer. Very interested in what this fully is though. Uh, yeah, so that's how I'm feeling about it.
Yeah, to give you some more from Naughty Dog's press thing here. Um, Intergalactic stars newest protagonist Jordan A. Munn, a dangerous bounty hunter who ends up stranded on Semperia, a distant
Mhm.
planet whose communications with outside universe went dark hundreds of years ago. In fact, anyone who's flown to it hoping to unravel its mysterious past was never heard from again. Jordan will have to use all her skills and wits if she hopes to be the first person in over 600 years to leave its orbit. Um, Neat idea. I like how that sounds. I'm also love how it's set in another press thing they did. It's alternate timeline, obviously, where like space travel was drastically enhanced by like the 60s. So it's got Marty McFly, Back to the Future aesthetics. Like we get the Porsche logo and stuff, obviously. Like it's very branded, not in a bad way, but it's got things that we can relate to kind of keep it on pace of being a space thing, but still being familiar with
Yeah,
what's
the
happening.
analog aesthetic stayed present as the world progressed.
There
So
you go.
all the stuff is still analog, which again, yeah, it's that 80s 90s aesthetic. It's just fun. It's good. But yeah, I'm excited. The moment it goes a little farther in the trailer, where you see a little bit of combat, like that's where I was like, okay, sick. You know, like I could, hey, a movie is a movie, right? Give me a good tone piece. That could be really cool for anything, right? For a paperclip game, like that could be great. But like, what is the game, right? So the moment it jumps and you see her move and then jump up and swipe down. It's like, oh, okay, that looked, for one thing, looked incredibly smooth visually and looked really cool. So if that gets anything close to what the actual camera movement can be, obviously without too much movement, like, yeah, this game gonna look cool.
That's what you just described is kind of where it lost me, sadly, because the first thing that came to my head when I saw that I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a Souls like to some extent," and I'm not about, which sucks because like I've gone this year in depth on my journey with Last of Us and playing through that finally, and like not having it land for me due to gameplay, but being invested in the story, even though I know what happens. Like the gameplay where it dropped me off is where it dropped me off at. I don't want that to happen a second time with a new thing. Like as we
Yeah,
get,
that's why I would rather them go off of like the ranged gun combat, because I've only played Last of Us Remaster 1, so it's kind of hard to critique it too much here. But I always have issue with games that are like have range combat that are floaty, like Resident Evil stuff. Like, and I get that's just kind of what the game is. Again, if you have pinpoint accuracy, it's going to be pretty easy to get through these games. So that's just part of it. I get it, but I would be way more interested in having to be a little more tactical and whatnot with your melee style combat. Again, having things that hit you be punishing, right? I think that's kind of what The Last of Us was doing. I remember like hearing something about that similar thing. I might be wrong. Please correct me. Uh, that philosophy, I think, works in a melee game. So we'll have to see what it looks like by the end of it.
were you surprised to see Naughty Dog show up? I know beforehand there was the day of rumors were all fucking over the place for this show. Like I was ready to believe anything could happen. Doors would be blown off. So when Naughty Dog did show up, I'm like, cool. I'm surprised it's here, honestly, but like it makes sense the way this show has gone so far.
Yeah, I wasn't. We talked like I think 2 weeks before, and like before the show, before we recorded, like we got that hint, or someone leaked, had the rumor that that Christopher Judge was working on a game of not Game of Thrones, a God of War game, and then or he was doing something, and it was like, no, that's not happening. He came out, blah 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 blah. So we started talking about like, oh, it makes sense for like a Sony Santa Monica game, and then we also kind of mentioned a Naughty Dog briefly in that, I think. So it was not surprising, right? I think it made sense as soon it was like, oh, okay, this is Naughty Dog. And at that point, I jumped in the Kind of Funny stream because I was having a hard time keeping track of the baby and watching the show. So I put on them so I could hear them at least describe what was going on. So they quickly were like, "Oh man, Naughty Dog! Like this is Naughty Dog." So that helped too. I was like, "Oh hell yeah, okay." But not surprised. It made sense. I think it's a studio that has earned this spot. Is close with Jeff. Jeff, has a soft spot for PlayStation Studios and these narrative tentpole games and former Game of the Year winner Last of Us 2 studio, right? So not surprised in the least. We haven't talked about the audio, the soundtrack coming from collaboration between Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, which should be solid because I put this song on my playlist. It's been played a couple times already, just casually around as I'm listening to music because it's a bop, it's a vibe. So I'm excited to see kind of what that vibe is. I'm down for that type of stuff.
Yeah, and for them, if Trent Reznor doesn't ring a name, Nine Inch Nails, that band. So very
And a couple other games too. It's not his first one, so yeah, he's
nice.
out there.
Yes, very
Oh
very
man, I wasn't
dark,
gonna type.
gritty. I'm excited for that. Yeah. They're also doing the new soundtrack for the next Tron movie, which is weird. It's
Ah,
branching
yes,
on
that
out.
was the other thing I know. No, he's all over the place. Good for him.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see more of this. In my head, being a pessimist, I don't even know if I see this being a PS5 game. Um,
Oh no, that would both. I do think it would be both at this point.
End
You're
of life.
announcing it. Yeah, it's like probably one of the last big ones that does it. I mean, Ragnarok was on both. I think we're going to see games straddle both generations for longer. Honestly, Xbox probably will be all three somehow. They're like, we have all consoles. We're releasing for like 5, 6, 7, 8 consoles at once.
Sorry, 2800 are coming back.
We're Xbox. Bring out your 360. We figured it out. Cloud streaming on the old VHS box.
Yeah, that was the first thing I looked at because the day of, I think, or the day before, PlayStation did release a new trailer of this is 2025 on PlayStation type thing, and I went to check if they updated it or added onto it with this. Didn't happen. Not sure if it would have either way, but yeah, I feel like Yote is firmly going to be 2025 PlayStation.
Yeah.
Then next gen console talk end of the year, early 2026 with Intergalactic capping PS5's life off.
Yeah, Intergalactic is either that intended to be that system seller for the PS6, but also releases backwards, or it's just going to be like one of the last big PlayStation 5 games, which does fit. They also love the remasters, so this ain't coming out for multiple consoles. If it's not out for, yeah, they will just remaster it again.
Yeah, remaster and then remake the remaster.
Yeah,
good.
But yeah, overall, great show. Not a lot of Nintendo showing up, of course. They don't. Guess what? Switch is about to be announced next year early, so that's where they're gonna show shit. Ready? There was a moment on the Okami lead up. I thought it was Switch. The way Jeff like hyped it up, like, and was like, sometimes things just time out, and I was like, oh shit, and I was like, oh. It really made Okami fall flat for me because I was up there. I was like, Switch 2, holy shit.
No, I did too for a bit
no.
too because that morning since then a bunch of stuff's leaked for like cases and what it looks like. Actually, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, it's lined up like it leaked just a couple hours early type thing. No, it's Okami.
it was just Okami. I was like, damn, he got us. But yeah, so like Nintendo didn't need to do much. Xbox showed up with their Outer Worlds trailer, but they also have a killer lineup of showcases where they know exactly where they can announce stuff, how to announce it. So it makes sense not for them to do too much at a Game Awards, given, of course, last year was a big year as well. So it makes sense to have a lighter year and rely on your own shows, of course. So PlayStation showing up in their bigger way here makes sense.
I'm so excited for 2025. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, I'm excited. Avowed. We're gonna do we'll have that's like the first big game coming out for me personally, I think. But we'll have to do we're doing a preview episode. Like that's our last one, I think.
Pending on the 29th, yeah. Personal
Yeah,
awards, then looking ahead to 2025.
perfect. So we'll get to go in depth on all that. But yeah, 2025 is shaping up to be crazy, even with the delays that will be coming out of 2025.
Yeah. With that, we'll cap this episode off here. 2 more till episode 50. Can't wait. My end of things this week, to end off the year on a happy note, started to play through a Banjo Kazooie because I can't let go of the old stuff. So check that out on Twitch when we record. Our episodes are up on YouTube. Also mentioned it earlier, started my top 10s on TikTok. Video for each of those. We have first 2 out. Number 9 came out today, and it's a Ubisoft game, and I'm probably the only person in the world that has this game on their list. So go check that out if you haven't.
Yeah, it is. I bet you have to put it on the list before you never can again.
It's very firmly a 2024 and only 2024 game.
Yep. Funny.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how your list shakes out.
It's wild.
But yeah, this week I'm gonna be we are starting. Well, we're gonna keep playing Marvel Rivals because Marvel Rivals is amazing. It's a great time. I am right before we were recording. I was playing a match. If the people can just help me as Thor, when Thor is on point and the cart stops moving, when they can't move cart, you help Thor. And when Thor die and cart move, you do something else then. But when Thor keep dying on cart and then it moves, and when Thor alive cart don't move, you change something up, teammates, right? So I'm getting into I'm starting to figure out strategy.
Didn't have
I
my
hate
heals
people
there,
who
that's why.
refuse to play any other thing. Because the amount of times I start a match, I'm like, oh shit, we need a healer. Oh shit, we need a tank. So what? We need a damage? Random? Okay, that happened once. Everyone chose we had 3 tanks and 2 healers, and I was like, all right, whatever. Or different breakdown. But anyways, I'm having a fun time with Marvel Rivals. But I will be. I want to try to beat Liza P before the end of the year, so I'm going to start streaming that on the Twitch channel. Going to go back to that. Beat the first boss. I don't think I made it to like the second big boss area, so we're just gonna restart it, get back into the flow of that. But gonna add that to I need a new game stream, so that is gonna be the one. Still working through Indiana Jones as well. My wife really has liked watching it, so it's just become we're gonna play it together. But our daughter has not helped us do that, so it'll be a little lengthy on finishing Indiana Jones, I think.
That's fine. Yeah, next week will very much be Marvel Rivals in Indiana. I want to try and fit Marvel Rivals in the day, but too much other stuff. So.
Oh yeah. I had 30 minutes. I was like, I could squeeze in a match or two. And then they wouldn't push the cart, so I ended like 4 minutes before.
Bastards.
I was like, or just push the damn cart. We're inches away. We lost that round.
Anyways, we'll catch you all next week. Thank you for stopping by. Catch us live each and every Sunday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here, twitch.tv/BadlandsBacklogs. Episodes go live on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts now on Monday mornings, roughly 8 a.m. Drop us a follow, comment, share with your friends, whatever. Any little bit helps us out, do cooler things. We'll catch you all next week. Happy gaming. Well, wait.